Hey guys, Streams here, coming at you with another review, and today I'm going to take a look at Adeptus Custodes and Sisters of Silence. I already took a review on those when they were released as datasheets, and I'm not going to do a whole review. If you want more detail about the exact units and so on, you can go over there, but I will go over everything that changed and obviously a little bit of a summary for those who missed it. If not, check out the review video on that one, and I'll leave the link in the description below. Alright, let's start with the Adeptus Custodes. And essentially, the entire unit is basically unchanged, so they still have 2 wounds, Eternal Warrior, AP2, AP3 upper weapons everywhere, high toughness, and so on, everything unchanged. But they now became troops, and that means it's not supposed to be like that, but that means you can run them in a combined arms or allied detachment if you want to, since Celestine and Call and Greyfax are in the game now, which is pretty nice. I don't think Games Workshop intended that, but if you want some objective secure Custodian guard, there you go. Now they actually have a good purpose, staying alive and doing stuff on the board, except killing stuff. They also had a big problem. They didn't have an invuln save at all. So the formation was there to give them an invuln save, but you had to take 3 of them to even get that. Didn't make any sense because even Terminator armor has a 5+ basic save, but now they have it. It's called Aegis of the Emperor, and essentially grants you 5+ invuln, and Eternal Warrior got moved to this rule as well, but unchanged in functionality. They also can take a Venerable Land Raider as dedicated transport, which is obviously a new unit because they couldn't do that before. And apart from that, their node cost changed or anything about them changed. So they still have the same downside as before. They are extremely expensive. They cannot use their bolt casters because they're not relentless. So that sucks. So unless you want to Overwatch with that, you still can't charge after you fire it, which is weird. I think they should have fixed that in this version. But at least they took away the problem that they don't even have an invuln save at all. So that's great. Already a big buff for them. And they still have the ability to take the storm shields, but now you don't have to invest the 10 points necessarily. But I'll talk about later why this still will be a good option. Then we have the Venerable Contemptor Dreadnought. This is a new unit, and then again it's not, because it's a Contemptor Dreadnought. It's the exact same. It also has Aegis of the Emperor, so it has a 5+ invuln same no matter where. Front armor, back, close combat doesn't matter, always a 5+. It has Adamantium Will, which is nice, so it's a little bit more resilient against Psychic Cheese, but there's not that much Psychic Cheese affecting vehicles nowadays. It has deep strength, so it doesn't need a drop pod of any sort, which is nice because it is 200 points, so it's pretty expensive even for a Dreadnought. Costs exact double of a normal Dreadnought. But the good thing is it is Venerable, so it has ability skill 5 as everything else, but you can force your enemy to re-roll pen results, which is obviously nice because Dreadnoughts tend to blow up really quickly, and that makes sure that lucky Melter Shot doesn't kill you outright, and with 13 front, most of the stuff can bounce off the Dreadnought. Would I run it? Probably not, because it's too expensive. But if you really want to run a Contemptor anyway, I think this is a pretty good one, because having invuln save obviously always helps, and you might be forced to run him anyway, which I'll talk about when we talk about the detachment. Other than that, he is the same as he is, so he has the upsides and the downsides of a normal Dreadnought, and but the deep striking thing is pretty nice, I think. His model is not that big, and you can put him somewhere. You have the basic Dreadnought options as always, so multi-melter and Karis autocannon, and that's pretty much it. Nothing much to talk about here. And then the Venerable Land Raider, 275 points, so not necessarily much more expensive than the normal one. I still consider Land Raider as pretty bad, but this one has a bunch of stuff going for it that makes it much better than the other versions. First of all, it has a 5+ invuln save because it has Aegis. That's awesome. because a 5+ on such a big vehicle is essentially demon, which is really good, and with very high armor, you will have to invest more shooting to get it down before anything happens, even if you get close with Melta, which is when you won't get any cover. Adamantium will, I mean, again, works against some haywire powers, but not much else. If something is nearby that gets hit by an overpower, you can choose the Land Raider to deny the witch. That's obviously okay, but outside of that, not as relevant. But it has the Magos machine Spirit, which is awesome, so it ignores Crew Shake and Stunt. Why not? Essentially, reinforced armor just better, and why wouldn't you take that? Fixes one of the problems of a Land Raider. He spends a turn not moving, he's dead meat. And also he can still fire his machine stuff without any problems. And then again, he is Venerable, and that is a big deal on a Land Raider. He is more durable than a Dreadnought, has more hope points than a Dreadnought, and is obviously a big target because he most likely will have something inside that you want to kill. And as I already told you, you can get a combined arms Land Raider here, so you can take in as a troop's choice, essentially. And that is pretty scary. That makes him very, very hard to kill, because most likely he's gonna blow up more than that he is gonna get whittled down with his 4 hope points in one save. So in this case, re-rolling the explosive result is a very, very big deal. Also, Ballistic Skill 5 on last cans is pretty nifty, so hitting on 5s re-rolling makes it almost impossible to miss, and that's good because the thing is expensive, so you might as well hit something. And I think, personally, I like this Land Raider more than the other Land Raiders. Why? Because you're already investing 250 points for the normal one, and you might as well invest the 25 points for this one to make him much better than the original version. In my opinion, that is something that the Land Raider is weak to, getting assassinated essentially, and all of his armor and so on does not really help him out there. So this doesn't make him cheaper, but at least makes him more durable and able to do his job. That's at least what I think about it. Other than that, he has the same problems as other Land Raiders. Graph, for example, get immobilized, get stuck. There you go. Your 5+ won't be saving all of these most likely. But then again, what you're going to do about Graph anyway. There's not much in the game that can deal with Graph very well. But now there are Custodes, and you will see they will deal with that, if you want to. Alright, Custodes got a water trade table, obviously, because this is a Codex. There's the obligatory water trade and the detachment, as always. First is Savior of the Imperium. Armies of the Imperium within 6 inches gain 6++. I mean, that's great for everything else, except the Custodes themselves, because they already have better in-1 saves than that. So good if you want to support other stuff. Second one, reroll to hit and wound in challenge. Can be good because your weaponry is very, very strong. On the other hand, if something is in close combat with you as Custodes, you already won, pretty much, because they are really, really powerful if you can get in there. So I don't know about that. Champion of the Blood Games is the same. Preferred enemy is nice and everything, but most likely will not do too much. You get to reroll those pesky ones, and when you're hitting, it will also help. It's a good rule, but if you're in combat again, you already made it. Probably don't need the water trait. Impregnable Mind. The warlord and his unit deny the witch on a 2+. Awesome. That's good. That's so good against Magnus and so on. Pretty much the best deny the witch version ever, and it's really good because Custodes squads usually are targeted by maledictions of all sorts, and just in case your Adamantium will doesn't do it, this water trade will help you out. Then my personal favorite, because it has a nice name, Light of the Emperor, Shrouded. Awesome. Shrouded is a rule that confers to the squad as well, so if you're sitting in a ruin, you have a 2+ against all shooting, which is really good. I mean, 2+ in 1 save pretty much, unless they ignore cover. And Shrouded is good. Why not? And then the last one, also boring one, Emperor's Companion, +1 weapon skill or ballistic skill. and ballistic skill, which is meh. Most likely you take this on a captain, and he already has weapon skill 6, so he's now weapon skill 7, I guess. I don't know. It makes him a little bit better against dedicated HQ fights, but the ballistic skill is mostly irrelevant, and I would rather have any other warlord trait than this. Move through cover is way better, and all that shenanigans from the strategic table will be superior. Alright, that is the warlord traits. And now the Golden Legion Task Force. Okay, you must take 1 troop, and you can take 2 troops and an elite. And as always, with the new detachments, this here gives you the benefit for maxing out. So you have to have 3 groups of Custodes and a Contemptor. So extremely expensive. That's 600, 800, about 1,000 points. 1,000 points worth of only Custodes and Contemptor without any upgrades. And that allows you every unit that is within 6 inches of another Adeptus Custodes unit, read Adeptus Custodes unit, not unit from this detachment. Sometimes we confuse that. You get to reroll invuln saves of 1. Now that sounds not as good as usual because they don't reroll all saves, just invuln saves, specifically mentions those. But there is ways to get Sanctuary on your guys. There you can buy them Storm Shields, so essentially you can have a 2+ rerolling. It's very hard to get. Again, you don't get Objective Secure because you're then running in this detachment where you don't have it. And I mean, you're very, very durable then, but you're stuck to AP3 weaponry because you have to drop your spear to get the shield. And it requires a huge amount of points invested into your army and then into getting those psychic powers. Cheapest way probably Inquisitor with Hammerhand also clocks at about 200 points. Let's say 1,200 points to make that cheese work for 1 single unit, and then you have to invest into other psychers as well if you want to make it work. So it's really, really hard to abuse. Essentially, it has the same problem that your Custodes always had. They are so freaking expensive that they have to make their points back somehow. And then the next one is pretty good. One of my favorites, as I know I'm playing Grey Knights, dropping Terminators, mishapping, or not landing where you want them with such expensive units is really, really, really painful. So Games Workshop thought about it, and they give you only 1 die for scattering when you're deep striking, and a reroll in the mishap table. That's awesome. They gotta get into the thick of it. Land Raiders is still very, very expensive and unreliable. So if you deep strike them now, you don't get any rerolls for your reserves, so you still have to worry about that one, but at least only 1 scatter, and thanks to Servo Skulls, maybe even no scatter. And reroll on the mishap table just in case when you're landing on your own troops or inside of a ruin and you don't lose your 260 points squad, or he puts it at the end of the table, which is the exact same thing. They're useless for the entire game. And it's too much points to lose these guys, as if you're deep striking Land Raiders, essentially. So that is really, really good. That's something I would take any time over the formation. The formation is still usable, but now got obsolete because the formation granted them invuln saves. And unless you're taking 3 squads, which gives you a 4+ invuln save, this doesn't really do much. I don't know. The formation is completely obsolete. You only get a 5+ in at best, and you already have it. Reroll the warlord trait, obviously. What do you think about it? I'm not sure if it's worth it, to be honest. I think I would rather have dedicated objective holders than this. So OBSEC, thanks to, let's say, call plus Custodes is essentially in just, you can't remove that. It's just so incredibly tanky if you do that. And they can look out so all to him because they're all characters, and I don't know. That's gonna be nasty if you feed something like that. It's basically unkillable, and with OBSEC, it actually has a purpose of setting up your triangle of death with your objective markers and then camping there and threatening everything that comes close. You can still take the storm shields. Yes, you're not rerolling once, but really, you're investing so many points. You're probably more dying to normal armor saves than inward saves, most likely, because inward saves obviously armor saves would be enough since you're costing so much that Terminators would probably tank cheaper against normal ammo than these guys. Alright, nevertheless, it's still runnable. It's not in an apocalypse size of game, so if you're a fan of these, you can try to run it, but I highly advise taking Psychic support if you want to do that, because your army is so small, you have to be able to get something done on the objective game. Okay, that's it so far. Very, very few changes. Everything that got changed made them better. No downsides whatsoever. And I guess it's a good thing if you have Custodes. You can use them much more easy now. And they gain some great benefits. Because remember, the first benefit always applies if you're only taking one squad. So great. That's basically more benefit, more in one saves, more options, and a good dedicated transport. So why not? Alright, Sisters of Silence. One word about Sisters of Silence. Since I last reviewed them, they made some appearance in competitive play for obvious reasons. They are psychic abominations and they are essentially the Colex's assassin and way cheaper. And they were already usable. That's what I'm trying to say. Nobody plays Custodes, but Sisters of Silence were already prevalent before I review this. Alright, so now they call Prosecutor and Vigilator squads. Essentially unchanged. The Prosecutor squad is the bolt gun version and the Vigilator squad is the Executioner Great Blade version. And as you can see, they made them 10 points cheaper when you're taking the Great Blades. And I don't know. I think that's fair game. I would always take the Great Blades, but that's okay. Essentially, they're buffing close combat, which I like. I think they should do that more often. They should make really units more cheaper than they already do. So that's good, but I would agree for balance-wise, it's probably worse because the sisters are already really good, and you take them for the psychic shenanigans, not for the for their offense power. You also don't have any flamer options anymore, which is weird, but they're still elite, and you still have that old entry. I don't think it became obsolete because they didn't write anything about it. So the datasheet should still be there, and then you can take your flamers on that squad. And that kind of squad would take flamers, but no rhinos since they don't have them. And I already mentioned it here, you have the rhino option, and Null-Maiden Rhino is 10 points more expensive than a normal rhino, but a rhino has Bane of Psychers, so he has precision shots against them, and he also rerolls all hit rolls, which is like, meh, who cares? But he is a psychic abomination, and that's awesome, because Sisters did not have a dedicated transport, first of all, so they're now more mobile, but if they embark inside of a transport, their psychic abomination aura doesn't work anymore. Now it becomes even worse because the rhino is moving up. The rhino is much quicker than they are. It's not as expensive as you would expect, and it also has the same rule. So it becomes a huge fire magnet that you can maneuver around and hide and support. Otherwise, the Psychers in the other armor will have a big problem if this thing comes anywhere close to them. So that's actually really, really good. I think it's pretty much the best rhino you can buy. Like, no honesty, I don't think I wouldn't invest those 10 points if I could buy it somehow. But it's only available as a dedicated transport to them. It is in the fast attack slot, okay, but there is pretty much no fast attacks, so doesn't matter. It's really, really good. That's what I'm trying to say. Alright, and then the Null-Maiden Taskforce. Obviously, one elite, that's your one girl squad, and can take up to 3, so that's 3 maiden squads with 3 rhinos if you want. And Psychers of all kinds reduce their weapon skill by 1 when they're in close combat with the Null Maidens. So that is nice and everything, but if they are in close combat with a Psyker, they're most likely uh, have them screwed over anyway because they have psychic abominations and everything. And against Magnus and the like, the one weapon skill will not matter at all. But I mean, it's a freebie, right? And then comes the big part. This is the one that will probably make this banned in tournaments, in my opinion. For each unit beyond the first, Psychic Abomination's AoE increases by 3 inches. So it's already 12 inches. You have 5 guys or 5 girls in a group that you can spread very, very far. You have that Rhino that also increases this range to an actual effective 15 at least. And now you can take up to 6 units in this detachment, increasing that by a 3 inches per extra. So that's 5, that's 15 if you want to go full out. And that's a essentially 27 to 30 range that screws over Psykers massively, like so badly. Like everything that is a blessing ceases to exist. Death Stars just crumbling. Essentially, you don't want to come close to anything of this. The big thing about this is people will always argue, oh, well, but you're buying this as a dedicated transport, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. Units, when you buy them, become units on the board. The slot doesn't matter at all. Even if you take them unbound, they would count as an own unit. So you're taking the Sisters unit and the Rhino, and they're 2 separate units. So the max unit in this detachment is 6, because you can take 3 squads with 3 Rhinos, make 6 units on the field, and that is what this rule cares about. Essentially, you can take out a huge amount of armies just by feeding this. Essentially, Grey Knights, for example, can remove them from the board with this kind of play because your stuff is so powerful against them. They're very inexpensive. Sisters do not have the Custodes problem that they're actually expensive, right? 75 points or 65 points for a bunch of Initiative 5 AP2 weapons. They're essentially Incubi. Just cheaper, more effective, and very, very mean against everything that is a Psyker. So, I don't know. I think they will probably ban that. Just because the Colexus Assassin is already bad enough. But this is an entire new level of Colexus Assassin sneakiness. They might not have infiltrate, they might not have drop pods, but I mean, Rhinos and a huge range on their ability would be enough to control the board. Because the Death Star is never gonna hang back in the backfield where you can't reach him. It's always gonna go forward and try to do something. And if you have your own Death Star, you can essentially support that one with this one and make you immune to most shenanigan lists that exist nowadays. Obviously, that makes you weaker against shooting armies, but I think that is a pretty big deal. It's most likely something that I would not like to face. And it's interesting that they're trying so heavy to make the Sisters work, but the Custodes are still weird. I don't know. The only thing that they did not fix about the Sisters is they still don't have assault grenades, so they did not remove that part. Same for the Custodes, by the way. But I think apart from the fact that their Rhino is an assault vehicle, they have everything they want. I don't think they could wish for anything else than what they already have. Their rules are pretty much perfect, you could say. Now, do I agree with that one or not? Let's put that out of the way. I don't think they needed that kind of buff. But on the other hand, there is enough psychic cheese going on already. The armies that are really, really strong right now are abusing psychic powers, and it's nice to have something that can fight that. I just don't think the Imperium necessarily had to have these guys, although it makes total sense from a fluff perspective. Having pariahs and recruiting them is obviously a Imperium-like thing. Chaos has very limited access to pariahs, and if they have them, they are so batshit crazy and dangerous they wouldn't let them alive, most likely. So, makes kind of sense. But still, somehow there's a bunch of pariahs now growing out of the earth, and Custodes are running around. But they already made up in the fluff for that. Custodes now leave the throne and everything and fight again. So that's a little bit different. All right. That's it already. Very short codices, just like Imperial Knights pretty much. But all in all, it's buffs on buffs on buffs. I don't think there's anything nerfed pretty much, and everything got buffed, while the pawn cost stayed the same or got decreased. So pretty much a Necron update, if I may say so. If you already have the models and so on, they're just better to use, so you can be happy. And if you have a psychic heavy army like I do, you can be very, very sad if this becomes actually popular. I don't think it will, but it's a little bit busted in very specific cases, just like Grey Knights versus Demons. And I can already tell you I'm not playing a lot of Demons with my Grey Knights just because of that reason. And that isn't very fun if people just refuse to play you because of the army. Same would apply for a Sisyphus Silence army itself. But I don't think that will be defeated very often. Alright, thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more, and then I'll see you guys with the next review as always. Happy wargaming.